Obviously, as you've been reporting and talking about, healthcare is not going to be a 100-day priority. But to say health reform is over, or as Paul Ryan said it the other day, that it's Obamacare is the law of the land for the foreseeable future, I think a lot of conservatives don't see it that way. There's going to be another opportunity to hit health reform again later in the year, perhaps early 2018, and that'll be better because this process was really rushed. You had a bill drop on a Monday night, and 16 days later, Republicans were supposed to vote on a bill that affects 1/6 of the economy with half of a CBO score. It's going to be better to take the time to get this right.
Avik, there's lots of speculation about what the president can or cannot do going forward in terms of executive actions that could either help or weaken Obamacare. What do you think he should do?
Yeah, so Andrew, I mean, there is a limited amount he can do through executive order, through regulatory action. The Affordable Care Act was so prescriptive, really micromanaging how insurance companies could design their benefits and write their plans, that there's only a limited amount of room through regulatory changes to change the way Obamacare works. You really have to pass acts of Congress to change it. That's why the repeal and replace effort is so important if you want the insurance markets to work for people who buy insurance for themselves. So a big part of Obamacare, just as a reminder for people, is it's not so much about employer-based insurance or Medicare, the program for the elderly. It's more about people who buy health insurance on their own who don't get it from their employer or don't get it from the government, though Medicaid in particular was a big part of this Paul Ryan bill.
Help square this up for us. The president says that this plan will ultimately explode, in his words. The CBO suggested in its most recent report that actually it may be more stable than some people think. Where do you land?
Yeah, I stand a little bit more with the CBO. I mean, look, premiums are continuing to go up for these individual market plans, and they're going to continue to go up. So Trump is a little bit right on that. But it's not responsible to just sit around and wait for Obamacare to explode or to destabilize further if you think that's going to happen. You should actually try to fix it so people can have health insurance that they can afford. So Republicans need to get back up, get off the mat, and get back to work building a plan that actually has consensus, that covers the uninsured while also reducing the costs that we all know are blowing up the system and driving the deficit.
And just from a practical perspective, could you see a plan passed that actually captures the Freedom Caucus, meaning they vote in favor of it, and captures the moderates, meaning that the moderates are moderate Republicans are willing to go along with it as well?
Yeah, so I wrote an op-ed about this for the Wall Street Journal on Friday, and I've been writing about this for Forbes a fair amount. There actually was a consensus or a deal that was coming into place between the House Freedom Caucus and moderates. The problem was Paul Ryan set this arbitrary deadline that you have to vote on this bill, take it or leave it on Friday or we're out. Because he wanted to move on to tax reform, which, again, I appreciate the value of tax reform. But that was the problem. There was a deal that was being developed, and that deal is continuing. Those talks are happening. So if you have to basically structure the tax credits in such a way that low-income people can afford health insurance while deregulating the market at the same time.